And welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast of Jackson and Kyle. I am Jackson, and I'm joined here, as always, by the man who people are calling the Tommy DeVito of podcasting. Kyle, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. I know he played well this week, but I don't know if that's a compliment.
Hey, the biggest compliment ever. Look at how Kyle. I for one welcome. Is Tommy DeVito a MVP candidate?
No.
All right, Kyle, already arguing with people in the chat. We have a lively chat here on an entertaining Sunday night. This was I'll be honest, a week afternoon slate. The afternoon slate, not ideal, but there was even an entertaining game there. It's a fun week.
Yeah, it was a great week. I enjoyed a lot of it, and there were some great games in the morning. And at one point there was like 3 or 4 games coming down to the wire. It felt like, and really good stuff, I thought, overall. And some a hilarious Chargers loss, so we're right on cue. I mean, all of it was just fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of hilarious losses in this game, in this week that we can talk about. As always, we start off with the Sunday show, which was a funny loss, or was this an exciting win? It was kind of both.
Sorry, I missed a little. Exciting. Yeah, it was exciting win for sure. Talking about the Sunday night game. Yeah, I thought it was a really, it was a good comeback for the Broncos. I mean, they couldn't score touchdowns, 5 field goals in this game. But when it mattered most, it was Russell Wilson in this one coming down and, leading that last scoring drive. Big win for him, big win for the team.
Let's do is this a good win or a bad loss?
I think it's I never know how to judge this Broncos team because they're it's like the Steelers kind of in a way where it's like they're outgained all these plays, but it's like yard for play they're basically even. The Vikings ran more plays. They couldn't convert on third down, but they got it at the very end. They did exactly what they had to do on that last drive. And that was really the difference. So I'll say good win. Why not? Good win. Let's be positive about this. This is their 4th win in a row now, and there was some productive stuff here. This defense has played better. They couldn't get off the field in this game, but they have played better this season as the year's gone along. And then Russell Wilson made the big throws when he had to. Yeah,
I mean, that play to Sutton was great. Also, Scoot with a super chat. Here's a bribe to talk about the Rams' glorious sweep over the Seahawks, who have scored a combined 3 second-half points versus LA. I don't know how I feel about bribes, but we'll talk about that one soon. Don't worry. We'll definitely get there quickly. But yeah, I mean, several things to talk about, right? Broncos won a turnover battle 3-0 in this game. I think that definitely has to be mentioned. Broncos also went 2 for 12 on third downs. So that was I feel like 2 things that tend to be pretty fluky. One went really for them, the other went really against them. You brought up the Steelers. I kind of feel like it's funny how the Steelers are just that team now that we all accept is like the team that just steals games. But it's very Russell Wilson in Seattle, right? Of just keep things close and then he'll make the play at the end.
Yeah. And even if he's not as good as he was in the past, right? Like it's not the same Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
There were still some good throws there down the stretch. That throw to Courtland Sutton was a good throw. And he is, game manager Russell Wilson has kind of turned into a funnish quarterback. He hasn't made a ton of mistakes this year, which outside of a few, the Jets game obviously was one that really stands out for that. But for the most part, he's played pretty clean football. And I think people were ready to write him off, and I'm not going to justify it.
He didn't write back.
Yeah, he did not write back for sure. It's still one of the worst contracts in the league. It is.
Yeah.
But the if you look at when we talk about quarterbacks in this way, like Daniel Jones is a bad contract and not playing good football. He is at least a bad contract who's not losing them games and not going out of his way to lose games. So that I feel like that's been a huge thing for them this season, and this Broncos team is all of a sudden back in the conversation.
They're in the conversation. I mean, these next 2 weeks are huge. And really the next several weeks are huge, but they play Cleveland and Houston the next 2 weeks. That feels like a big, got to get at least a split there. They still play the Chargers twice. And then they play the Lions, the Patriots, and the Raiders. Those are their other games, which, Lions are tough. Patriots and Raiders are maybe not quite as tough. Sorry, Kyle. But it's possible. And the AFC does feel a little open. Well, I mean, we'll talk about the Browns-Steelers game, as neither one of those teams feel like playoff teams. I think them both might end up making the playoffs. But yeah, Denver, you've kept hope alive.
You've certainly kept hope alive. The door is slightly ajar, and we've talked about ad nauseum this AFC. These last playoff spots in the AFC are going to be really tough, and well, at least they're in that conversation now. They're not out of it yet by any means, and they might make the playoffs. They really might, and it's crazy to see what this team was so early in the season. How this was the team that everybody wrote off. It felt like after week 2, this was a team that they lost a couple games in pretty embarrassing fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Their coach opened the season with just openly mocking the previous coach, which I think was kind of a bad vibe start.
Mm-hmm.
And they have like the dirtiest player in the league on their team too. So there's also that. It's like all of this was like just the bad vibe stuff, and then all of a sudden, like, here they come, 4 wins in a row, and completely different team.
Hey, Sean Payton's never been against having dirty players on his team. Got to throw that one in there. Tampa Bay fan here. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like the 3 weeks in, they were 0-3 and had given up a 70-point loss to the Dolphins. They got, they blew a big lead to Washington. Like, it made sense for them to be. I still think they're a great team. I don't. I know that they've come up. They've won a couple of big. They played Kansas City tough for whatever reason, and they beaten the Bills in a game they probably should have lost. They've won this game, and again, they probably still lost. My gut says they're still not a playoff team, but like they're certainly. You feel way better about them now, and they could be a playoff team at least in the near future.
Well, yeah. I agree with that. I don't think they are a playoff team, but at the same time, you start looking at we've talked about this AFC picture the last few weeks. I think it's a little clearer this week as we get, each week it gets a little more clear. The Titans seem to have kind of fallen off, playing a rookie quarterback. They're clearly in a rebuild situation. The Jets are now quarterbackless, theoretically. I guess Aaron Rodgers might practice. We'll see.
Yeah.
Who's the Chargers? Can't get out of their own way. The Raiders, there's some good things, but at the same time, it's also Aiden O'Connell. So you just don't know what you're going to get week to week. And then, Joe Burrow is out for the year. And then you have the Broncos, you have the Colts, you have the Bills, the Steelers, the Texans, the Browns. So, there's still a lot to be played for here. And, it's still tough because there's still theoretically 10, 11, 12 teams that could make that are fighting for a playoff spot. But, teams are starting to fall off, and there's opportunities here.
Yeah, what they always say, like Thanksgiving, that's when well, we're there. The Vikings lose this game. They have an easier schedule, so you don't feel terrible if you're a Vikings fan. It is a disappointing loss, but you play Chicago coming up Monday Night Football. You play the Raiders and the Bengals. Those are your next 3 games. Chance to rattle off some wins. We talk about the NFC being so weak. There's Kyle. This is maybe too early in the show to talk about this, but just something to put a pin in. I think we have to start mentally preparing ourselves for the potential of 2 NFC South playoff teams. It feels possible.
It's possible. Tampa's got one of those. Tampa or Atlanta's got to go on a bit of a run here, but I'm not too worried about the Vikings. They still got a 2-game gap against anything else in the NFC. It does stink that they lost this, but at the same time, I think they're okay. Like, I still think they're going to get that spot.
Yeah, I think so too. Maybe this can be a transition for a team that I am worried about here. Seattle losing this game to the Rams. And the reason is because Seattle has a really brutal next 3 weeks. They played the Niners twice and the Cowboys in between that. And then they played the Eagles after that. So for the next 4 weeks, I mean, they could easily go 0-4 in that. And then honestly, you might even look at, if they go 2-2, you'd be kind of blown away by that a little bit for Seattle. And 1-3 almost even feels like you almost take that if you're a Seahawks fan with how much, how tough this is. It was, I locked up Seattle. I felt great all game. Like, I locked up Seattle. Look at me. I am so smart because I am very arrogant. I just pretend not to be sometimes when I podcast. And all of a sudden, Geno Smith gets hurt. Drew Lock, he couldn't wait to throw an interception. He was so ready to throw an interception. Second he came into the game, he was ready, trying to throw an interception. Goes 2 for 6, 3 yards, no touchdown, 1 interception. And the Rams get back in it. Matt Stafford did make some plays, and really, what are we even doing with Cooper Kupp out there? Puka Nacua is the number one option. Feed Puka Nacua. Too many distractions. They're at their best when Puka Nacua is their whole offense. And the Rams stay alive. They're 4-6. They're not dead yet. And Seattle loses the game. That's going to make things difficult down the stretch.
Yeah. It's certainly interesting. And, we continue to say this all season because, I continue to say I had expectations for Seattle this season. Mm-hmm. I had expectations for the Seahawks team. I thought they were in a higher tier than what they've shown. And it was one of those things I kept going back to, like, you have to separate the process from the results. They were 5-2. Everything was like, okay, Seattle's making the playoffs. We're all good. This is going to be a pesky 6 seed, whatever. But they weren't looking that impressive winning these games. They were just winning games against teams they should have won. Maybe besides the Detroit game, that was their best win of the season. And now they're 6-4. And like you said, like, they're certainly talented enough to maybe beat one or two of these teams. But this is as tough of a 4-game schedule as it probably gets in the entire league. And I mean, if this team's 6-8 and fighting for their playoff lives, then after all that, I mean, that's a brutal spot to put you in. And then not to mention, the chance, it's back-to-back Thursday games. So you do get a week after this short week, but you may not have your quarterback and you may not have your top running back. And, both of those guys are pretty important to what the Seahawks offense does.
Yeah, I mean it's a bad loss, and things got really weird at the end here, where the Rams had an opportunity not to fully run out the clock, but they could have kind of given Seattle the ball with like 40 seconds left, no timeouts. They instead decided to pass, and they throw an incompletion, which gave Seattle a much better chance to kick a field goal. Then Seattle, they got like to a point where they could kick a 55-yarder and just burn the rest of the clock, and then called a timeout. Or not called timeout because they didn't have any, but spike the ball and just, kick the field goal from that far out for some reason. Like, a lot of weird stuff went on at the end there. I think Seattle's definitely maybe kicking themselves for not trying to set up an easier field goal.
Yeah. NFC West games are weird. Like, do we just start betting the Rams blindly when they play the Seahawks?
We got it,
right? Is that just the solution at this point?
And the weird thing, too, is like, this game was exactly what you wanted from Seattle. Through 3 quarters, it's like, this is perfect. They were up, 16-7 in the fourth quarter. It's like, okay, here we go. And then it really was, I mean, I don't know. I have this thought, same thing with like the Jets with Zach Wilson. It's like, why are we just keeping quarterbacks as our backup because like they're on the roster? Like, Drew Lock isn't that good. Why is he just a backup? Like, why not just get rid of him and get an actual backup? Like, you're a good team this year. Why is he your backup?
Yeah. I agree. I guess you say, he knows the system or something, but I just don't know. I don't know exactly.
Teach someone the system.
What's that?
Teach someone the system. Get them into preseason.
I don't know. I don't know. We talk about this every week, though. There's a billion complaints about how bad quarterbacks are. Like, are we sure there's like 64 capable quarterbacks? That's the problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe not. And give credit to Stafford, give credit to Puka Nacua that made plays at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best receiver of all time. That's what I expect.
He really was like there's like plays when it's like in Madden when like a player is so good, like they're like breaking, like even when they're getting tackled, they're like moving like 5 yards down the field, just like the game doesn't know how to like actually make that like realistically work. Like that's how it feels watching Nacua sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's been an incredible rookie season. I mean, I can't say enough about how good he's been. Like, it's just it can't go under the radar just because he's not going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. He has been that good.
Yeah, been very good. Let's move on. Why don't we? Let's go to I don't know how many people are. I'm interested in this game. Steelers-Browns. Let's go from one missed lock to another missed lock. Kyle, hilariously, earlier, I thought about this during this game. Earlier this year, you locked up the Cleveland Browns to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. and the Pittsburgh Steelers won. Now you lock up the Pittsburgh Steelers to beat the Browns, and the Browns win. Never lock up these two teams again. You better hope they don't play each other in the playoffs, Kyle.
Yeah. This was annoying because this is the kind of game Pittsburgh always wins, and then this one they don't win.
But it's also the game that Cleveland always wins.
Yeah, that's true. It's whatever. I'm not going to inject myself into the game here. Can we just have a discourse here? We don't have to keep pretending we have to wait and see on this guy, right? This is it, right? I don't need to see any more Kenny Pickett. I've seen what I need to see. I think some of the touchdown stuff when it comes to CJ Stroud has more career touchdowns than Kenny Pickett is a little misguided and mean-spirited at times. But at the same time, this guy isn't a solution. He's not. He had 3.8 yards per attempt, which similarly Dorian Thompson-Robinson had 3.8 yards per attempt, but at least he threw the ball 43 times. He had to drop back a lot. 3.8 per yards per attempt on 28 attempts. That is just pathetic. That's just bad football.
Yeah, it's the thing with Pickett where it's sometimes you get these quarterbacks who are boom or bust, like Justin Fields, right? His great day, he looks awesome. His bad day, he looks terrible. I feel like Mitchell Trubisky was this guy for a while, which is ironic because they're on the same team. Trubisky was the king of his inconsistencies were his best days. He looked okay, except for that 6 touchdown game against Tampa Bay. Everything else was his best games were just he looked okay, and in his worst games he looked unplayable. That's Kenny Pickett, right? It's not every week he looks unplayable, but his highs are still just he did enough to get them to win. He didn't screw it up. And then his best games hey, look, he looked like Daniel Jones out there. And then his worst games are just this. You're right. He showed promise his rookie year, showed enough to give him a second year. This is it. You got to look for a quarterback this offseason. And even if you make the playoffs, which they're going to, I think they have an easy schedule. I still think they're going to make the playoffs. I think both these teams are somehow playoff teams. And I think Buffalo might not get in just because of how the schedule works and everything. But yeah, I mean, this was a tough game. If I'm a playoff team and I'm, one of the 2 or 3 seeds in the AFC, I am not afraid to play either of these teams.
Yeah, this feels like, easy pickings, honestly. So, yeah, I mean, a great Kenny Pickett game is 175 yards and 2 touchdowns, basically. Yeah. I mean, 2 touchdowns might be a incredibly successful game for him.
Right. But that's a career day.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I mean, it's such a weird team. This offense continues to struggle, but Jaylen Warren hits a 74-yard touchdown and completely skews the rushing stats basically off of that. And
which he's done for 3 straight weeks now. It's hilarious. Where the Steelers rushing stats look great, but it's just a big Jaylen Warren run every game.
And he's still getting less carries than Najee Harris just for some inexplicable reason. He's on the field less, but he's one of their 3 dangerous players. He should probably be on the field more. Tough loss for Pittsburgh. Good win for the Browns going in here with your rookie quarterback. And, this they have an identity, man. It's Myles Garrett who, won the battle between him and TJ Watt in this game. Some marginally, but they both played well. But I would say Myles Garrett had the edge there. And, that was a football game, I guess. That's the way to analyze it.
It was a football game. The 2 teams went out there. They played for 60 minutes. There was an oblong-shaped ball. Yes. I mean, Dorian Thompson-Robinson comes in. A hilarious stat line. I know you kind of talked about it a little, but the 43 passing attempts for only 165 yards. No touchdown, 1 interception. And it's great stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't a disaster this week, which is obviously a huge step up from his last game. It's going to be really tough for him to win a lot of games. And, I got to say, I would not have him dropping back 43 times. That's my opinion. I think that needs to change. We'll see.
Feels like a bit of a mistake. They still ran the ball 26 times.
They had a ton of plays in this game.
Yeah. But yeah, it was weird. As Ronnie Arn says, Browns signed Flacco. Never great when after a win, you're still signing a quarterback later that day.
Yeah.
How does that happen? How do you make it happen that quickly? Where you watch it, that had to happen during the game, right?
Yeah. I would assume it was probably done before or even during. I don't know. I'm so disgusted that we have to watch some of these guys, and like Jacoby Brissett just doesn't get to play this year, while like Sam Howell is just like throwing balls straight into the air, right to defenders and stuff like that. Like not even I think Sam Howell's fine, but like Jacoby Brissett's not going to play at all this year, and we have to watch these guys. And they had Jacoby Brissett too, which makes it even more frustrating.
Yeah, could have traded for Josh Jobs. I guess they had Josh Jobs too.
They both of them.
Yeah, wild stuff between those two teams. Let's move on. You brought it up. Let's talk about Sam Howell, but really, let's talk about Tommy DeVito, the greatest quarterback to ever play. 26 attempts, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I, for one, welcome our Danny DeVito overlord, Kyle. This was a masterclass in throwing to open guys who were wide open and able to run for 50 yards.
Yeah. All right, so here's my first question.
Okay.
Is Ron Rivera coaching tomorrow morning? Is this one of those too much respect things? Like
maybe. I'm trying to think. So, the answer is definitely yes, because they play on Thanksgiving. So you're not going to fire a coach on a short week.
Oh, true. Maybe after that.
Yeah, maybe that might be the time, because then you have a long week. I think probably he's gone after Dallas unless they pull off a miracle upset.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean this was a horrible game for them, man. Like, and it wasn't like I don't want to say this is all Ron Rivera's fault or anything like that, because he didn't, his team turned the ball over 6 times. If you want the full breakdown of the game, just read Magic Johnson's tweet about it. He wasn't happy.
Oh no!
Did you see it?
No, I missed the Magic. I love a good Magic Johnson tweet.
All right, I'll pull it up. You talk a little bit about this game while I get it.
Well, I mean, again, Tommy DeVito is, let's put him in the Hall of Fame now. We don't have to worry about him playing his whole career, because we know what's going to happen. Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley. He came in and played well. And obviously the turnovers, that's the issue for me with Washington is we want to talk about them as a playoff team. We want to talk about them as a playoff contender. And to be honest, if they win this game, we're talking about them as a playoff contender, because they would have been 5-6. We talked about how open the NFC is, but it's just like for Sam Howell, he looks really good for most of the game and every game he's played, but you can't throw 3 interceptions. You can't have 16 turnovers in this game. And you lost the turnover battle 6-0 and still somehow only lost by, 31-19. Usually 6-0. You're thinking you're losing by like 40. Rivera is 2-5-1 against the Giants. That's a wild stat given how the Giants have been since he's gotten there. Yeah, I remember the Giants, they won a game and tied a game against the Washington football team last week. It's just I don't know. I like what Sam Howell's done this year, but he's not the guy, right?
Probably not. He's at least intriguing enough to get an extra year to me, but at the same time, like, you got to take care of the ball, man. It's like it's bad when the interceptions are hilarious, and these were certainly hilarious interceptions in this game. So there was plenty of comedy from this one. I got the tweet pulled up here. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, let me see. Let me try and flex my Magic Johnson impersonation voice.
Oh no.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do it. But I will narrate this correctly. Wow. My Washington Commanders turned the ball over 6 times today and gave the Giants 24 points off turnovers. We lost 31-19. That's magic.
Wow. Really great insight there. One of the things that always bugs me is I hate when people say points off of turnovers, because sometimes it's like, yeah. Sometimes it makes sense, but sometimes you threw an interception that gave the opposing team the ball at the 10-yard line, and then they drive all the way down the field and score a touchdown. Like, that's not points off of turnovers.
Yeah, that's just points.
Yeah, you have to do a whole drive.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a little unfair, but there were some bad ones in this one for sure. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I want to give Sam Howell the benefit of the doubt. I don't think this team's particularly well coached, but I also think he he has to be smarter, make smarter decisions with the football. No doubt about it.
Yeah, because he really has played well outside of the mistakes, but just like the mistakes are so common. And again, he loves to take
It's the
sacks.
Desmond Ritter thing too. It's the same
Yeah.
thing as Desmond Ritter. I mean,
Hmm.
you could probably swap both those guys and it's the same exact result, right?
Yeah, I think Hal's been a little better, but I agree.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, kudos to Tommy DeVito. We made a lot of jokes, so I do want to give him credit for
Hmm.
actually playing, pretty productive football. I mean, I don't think it was like the best game ever, but
Hmm.
productive.
I mean, hey, the numbers are the numbers. Can't argue with his results.
Yeah. This team is insane. Like this is a historically bad offensive line, too. Now,
Hmm.
granted, I don't think any of the three quarterbacks they've played this year have helped the situation, but
Hmm.
it's like almost Madden-esque when I look up at their games every time. It's like 8 sacks, 9 sacks, 10
He
sacks,
had
7 sacks.
Tommy DeVito got sacked 5 times in the first quarter in this game.
Yeah, it's just I don't know how this keeps happening. Like they're gonna have to start like I don't know. There's got to be some sort of mandate to protect these guys. This is insanity. Get better players. Like what is this?
Yeah, I think
They've
at a certain
given up
point.
63 sacks in 11 games. 63. David Carr got sacked 72 times for the record that one year. They're at 63 through 11. They're going to have 100 sacks this season. 100. Like that's absurd. That's
And
absurd.
Washington's ahead of him, right?
Are they?
I'm not sure exactly. I know Sam Howell's been sacked the most out of any quarterback, but maybe because I noticed they've had different quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's true. They've been sacked. There's 51 sacks. This
Oh, okay.
according to ESPN.
Okay. Well then, I don't know. Good job by the Giants getting the record.
No. That'd be crazy.
Yes. Yes. Kind of Flea says my Commanders got their ass beat in quotes. Magic Johnson. Yeah. That's more or less it. Kyle, huge game for the Giants coming up next week. A must lose against your New England Patriots. I'm kind of buying into Patriots first overall pick potential.
I mean, it's there all of a sudden. We just need a Panthers victory. We almost had the perfect trifecta of the Bears, the Giants, and the Cardinals all winning. The Bears and the Cardinals blew it. We're still in a good spot though. I mean, now this is I scoffed at the idea of that we could actually get Caleb Williams. Now it's a possibility. So now I'm too excited that it's not going to happen. So
That would be great. Get Caleb Williams and have him be like the next Hall of Fame quarterback, just to have everyone mad at the Patriots. I'm rooting for that to happen. I like that. Kyle, I watched a movie with that had Danny DeVito in it the other night.
What movie?
It was the Virgin Suicides. I don't know. He had one scene in it. It was weird. I don't know if he just needed a role for a day, had a weekend off. But it was, yeah.
Did you go oh hey, what are you doing here? You got to play football tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe that's exactly that's what I said. I said that those exact words. Yeah. No. Yeah. I don't know why I brought that up, but that was what happened. Let's move on. Why don't we? Let's talk this game. Bears Lions. This was the upset of the week. It was the upset of the week. Jared Goff threw 3 interceptions and he tried to throw a fourth. At the time, it would have been the third, but almost had a 100-yard pick six that was just dropped in this one. Kind of some weird decisions he was making in this game. It was over. The Bears took a 12-point lead with I believe it was 4 minutes left. 4 minutes left. That's when they took the 12-point lead. So that's when the Lions drive started. 4 minutes left, down 12. Somehow come back and win with time to spare. The Bears got another drive at the end there, and then there was an Aiden Hutchinson strip sack safety that iced this one. The Lions are 8-2. It's weird because on one hand, you kind of want to look at this as a disappointing game from the Lions, still all things considered, because you gotta beat the Bears, right? But also, if Jared Goff just didn't turn the ball over and didn't make dumb mistakes, they would have won this game by 100.
Yeah, I mean they were the better team, and obviously we all knew they were more talented. It was a horrendous. It was, I mean, that's probably one of Goff's worst halves since Jeff Fisher was coaching him, right?
Yeah, I was thinking the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I mean, it's one of the worst halves he's ever played in football, and you give him credit for the comeback. I mean, he made some electric throws down the stretch too, so you give him credit for that. But man, he looks so off to start this game. I don't know what happened, but hey, against all odds, the Lions are finding some different ways to win. So I guess it's a good thing as far as you looking at this team as a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely good looking at them as a playoff team. I still think there's some. I think while it's fun, I think my brain kind of says I'm a little concerned now. They really only have one real test the rest of the way to play the Cowboys week 17, so that's interesting. But other than that, not a ton of great teams on the schedule. I still do worry about this defense, and it's concerning to me that Jared Goff can play like this, right? Because I'm like, Jared Goff's been so good this season, and then all of a sudden he went back to Jeff Fisher, Jared Goff, and it's like, whoa, what are you doing here? Like, stop doing that. We know
Yeah.
that can pop up, and you're praying that doesn't pop up at the worst possible time when you're trying to make a deep playoff run.
I mean, isn't that the same thing we're kind of saying about the Cowboys? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Dak's played really well this year, but Dak has his history of big game kind of frustrations. So like,
Mm-hmm.
to me, they're both kind of in the same boat. I mean, if you don't have the elite guy, you're always worried about that other shoe to drop, right? I feel like that's just kind of the state of the position, and he's in that kind of tier where, like, yeah, I think he at his best he can play with almost anybody. I mean, we've seen that throughout Goff's career. At his very best, he has beaten the Patrick Mahomes. He's beaten all of these fantastic teams, fantastic players. But we've also seen the bad Jared Goff games, and those are the kind of games that justify the Rams trading him, those sort of things. And there's two sides to the coin. I feel like with him at times, and I still think that the guy we've seen most of this year is the guy who he is. I do think he is a good quarterback, but I do think that he has some issues.
One thing we didn't yet talk about is how funny it is that the Bears lost this game.
Yeah. That's a given at this point, right? The Bears are just in the NFL for comedic relief. That's just what it feels like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like I don't know what's like in wrestling. There's the heavy, like the person that's just like supposed to get beat up to make the stars look good. Like that's the Bears.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. So I hate to gloss over the Bears here real quick because they did look good at stretches. I thought Justin Fields actually played pretty well in this game too. I do want to give him credit for that. I thought DJ Moore had some moments in this game, but to me, we know who the Bears are. The story of this game has always been the Lions, and I don't know, like another kind of uninspiring defensive performance. I thought. You mentioned Goff struggles. That also kind of catered to the defense, I think, struggling at times when your quarterback's turning the ball over that much. But like, what do you need to see from this team the last few weeks to say, maybe they're not my Super Bowl favorites out of the NFC, but this team can beat Philadelphia. This team could beat Philadelphia or San Francisco in a one-off game. Because that's not where we have this expectations for this team, right?
Mm-hmm. I just don't think because their schedule. I don't think they can do much. I don't think they can do it. Like I don't think that they're gonna when they play Dallas. I guess beating Dallas would be a start. Like if they can beat Dallas and look good doing it. Really, I want to see their defense look good because that's my biggest concern about. Because even in this game, like their defense, like we're talking about Justin Fields looking good. Part of that is because the defense was still giving up guys open. We were all excited early on with this Lions defense. But really, they kind of speed up on some not great offenses. That's kind of what's happened so far.
Yeah, it does feel that way. I mean, I just look at the schedule here. Like you said, at Dallas is a big game, but like, depending on which Saints team shows up, maybe at New Orleans in a couple weeks is tough. But like,
Yeah,
that's probably their toughest other game left on the schedule. Like, 14-3 is a real possibility for this team, which there's still a lot of football to play out. I mean, that's a legit chance at one seed in home field throughout the playoffs, 14-3. Like if they're hosting San Francisco or Philadelphia, that's can they beat those teams? Can they win that game?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, you're right because they do have a chance at the 1 seed, and that's probably the best way, right? You only have to if you only have to play one of those two teams, play those teams once. I guess what I'm saying. Like you get Philadelphia to play San Francisco, and then you get a home game against the winner. Now it feels a lot more possible. I think that's probably the way to do it. Kyle, I have a trivia question for you, and someone mentioned it in the chat, so don't look at the chat. What was there? You're going to know after I ask the question what the answer is. What happened more, Justin Fields running the ball or a receiver catching a football?
Oh, Justin Fields running the ball.
Yeah. Fields ran the ball 18 times in this game, 16 completions.
Look, I mean, it's unconventional, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was also effective in this game. So I don't want to criticize it when it's actually like good. I criticize it when he's like missing throws and, taking bad tackles for loss. But, it was mostly productive in this game, I felt like.
Are the Bears going to keep Justin Fields? Because right now they're picking 4th. That's where they be. Them sticking the Fields for another year is becoming more and more possible.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see.
It's a Jameis Winston thing.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see what this class ends up looking like because I think it's we'll see because it's a real potential that there is 6 like first round receivers, and I think that the quarterbacks I think are a bigger question, and if they end up with the number 1 pick, I still think they should take Caleb, but after that, and if it's the number 2 pick, I would still take Drake May too. After that, though, I think there's a ton of questions about the rest of the quarterbacks, and is it worthy of moving on at that point?
Yeah, and also I said I had number 4 pick, but also I forgot for a second. Obviously, to have Carolina's pick, so probably gonna move on. I think, but we'll see how it all goes. Interesting stuff.
If it ends up with like 3 and 5, I think there's an argument to keeping him one more year. What they can't do though is bring back the coach and the quarterback. One of them has to change, or both.
Yeah, Eberflus isn't staying another year. And listen, I forget exactly. Sam Darnold got at least a third. He might have gotten a second. Like it's like a second and a third or something like that after from Carolina. Like someone's going to give you at least a second for Justin Fields at the very least.
Atlanta is going to talk themselves into Justin Fields. Is what's going to happen.
Well, no, they're going to say, "Oh, Desmond Ridder, give him another year."
Yeah. Well, at least I don't know. They love Deshaun Watson because he was the Atlanta guy. Justin Fields is an Atlanta guy. Maybe
okay. Well, yeah, there you go. First round pick there you go. That's the trade. Let's move on. How about Chargers Packers? I'm just saying, if Justin Herbert was a winner, he would have found a way to win this game, Kyle.
He legit probably had the best game any quarterbacks had this season.
Didn't win though. I like winners, Kyle.
I don't think he threw a single bad football this entire game. Like, legitimately, I don't think he had a single bad play this entire game. This was unbelievable.
It was incredible.
This was legitimately unbelievable. I can't believe this. I honestly can't believe what happened in this game. I'm just watching this transpire like, okay, Herbert's playing out of his mind. This is going to work out. And then, of course, it doesn't work out because it's the freaking LA Chargers, the most cursed franchise I've ever seen. This is, we talk about like the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Miami Heat for NBA, like these teams that just find a way to win. I don't even know what to compare to the polar opposite of this. Like, I've never seen a team just constantly like kick itself in the balls constantly. Every single game, it feels like I can't imagine. How do you be a fan of this team? You have to do drugs if you're a fan of the Chargers. You just have to do drugs because this is insanity. This is absolute insanity. This is the most embarrassing thing I've ever seen. Your quarterback almost pitched. This is like an equivalent of losing 1-0 in a perfect game.
Yeah.
Like, this was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Just so stupid.
Let's get that as a quote. Kyle saying, if you're a Chargers fan, you have to do drugs. That's the want to get that quote out there. I don't know how to say it was incredible. There were so many drop passes. Quentin Johnston, I don't know. That guy is so annoying to me because like he finally is getting open. He has this, a beautiful opportunity. Get the game-winning touchdown. Like, you had a rough rookie season. That's your opportunity. He drops it. Plenty of drop passes in this game. Like you said, Herbert was incredible. Herbert was amazing in this game. The Chargers had a fumble lost as well. Like, this is the Chargers without Justin Herbert are 0-10.
At the maybe 1-9. Maybe they get one of those games. But holy crap, man! This was just incredible, and it's just like I was like, because the Keenan Allen thing, I was like, oh wow, that's weird. Keenan Allen dropping the ball in the end zone, and I was like, okay, that's kind of unconventional. He puts it right between his numbers, just absolutely insane. It's like the very next possession, it's like, okay, well, they're fine. They got the ball back down. Then it's like Austin Eckler just like falls over and then drops the football. Then there was that. He could have just stayed on the ground, but instead he tries to get back up and then he loses the football. And then the next one, Herbert does it again and gets them down inside the 5-yard line and finally gets the touchdown. You're like, okay, the Chargers finally got this lead. They're feeling good. And then all of a sudden it's like they're going to blow this game. And I was just flabbergasted. Absolutely flabbergasted. Like, he should request a trade tomorrow. That's how bad this was. Like, I can't imagine fumbling this sort of performance from a quarterback.
I'm just saying, Kyle, Daniel Jones has won a playoff game. I mean, maybe, who would you really rather have?
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm losing my mind with this, and I'm losing my mind with people watching results and saying things, which I heard again today. Nobody who says anything bad about Justin Herbert watch this game. Just say that and move on. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, you can just say I missed the game. That's you're allowed to say that.
Yeah, exactly. So just an insane game. I can't believe this. The Packers played too. They won this one. Jordan Love did pretty well.
Says Packers are just that good. Yeah, I like that. Packers are just so good. That's what happened in this. Here's what I'll say. Jordan Love looked good. This is the best I've seen Jordan Love play in an NFL game. Now, I don't know how much that is Brandon Staley defense. I'm assuming at least some. I think some of it was at least the Brandon Staley defense. But Jordan Love looked good. Still had a couple missed throws, but it wasn't terrible in this game. I mean, he might be the most inaccurate quarterback in football, Jordan Love, but he still also will make great plays, right? Like he'll seems like you almost have to accept he's going to miss like 3 or 4 throws a game. And other than that, you just hope that the rest outweighs that. And in this game, it certainly did.
Yeah, he made some really good throws down the stretch. So you definitely give him the credit for that. I thought he played well too. And, there was some legitimately positive things to see out of this Packers team. So you got to feel really good about that and everything that they did right in this game offensively, at least to an extent. There were some positives to take out of this game. Still, I think, I don't know how to feel about their future or anything like that, but there's definitely positives. I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree. What are we going to make? I don't know what we make with Jordan Love, because it's weird too. We're like, you basically have to pay him now, right? Like, he has his rookie contract is done with all this. So I don't know what you do with Jordan Love. I don't know. Don't draft a guy and have him sit 3 years. It's a bad idea. Forget about the whole you were competitive and all that stuff. It's just like you've wasted the whole rookie contract.
Well, I mean, he can't negotiate that big of a contract. Like, he's not going to get signed if that's the case, at least.
Yeah, but he'll take a 1-year deal, and then then you're still kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they accepted his 5th-year option, I think, but after that, you're.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with it. I mean, the plus side is if he plays well, it doesn't matter, right? Like, obviously you want to maximize the rookie contract, but it's not like this team spends on offense anyway. So
yeah, it's good point. And Aaron Jones is hurt, so it doesn't help things. Any final thoughts, or want to move on?
No, I never want to talk about the Chargers again. Fire Brandon Staley. Let's just set this team on fire. Yeah, set the building, whatever locker room they have.
Okay, hold on. For legal reasons, whatever Kyle is saying is a joke.
Yeah, I mean, just like,
we do not condone arson here on the Sideline Podcast.
No, we might consider it. Go ahead and set their locker room on fire.
Not considering it. Do not consider arson.
Move them back to San Diego if we have to. Figure this thing out. We need something new here.
Yes. Here. That's the no arson.
Well,
No, not well, maybe. No. The banner says no.
Okay, fine. No R's.
No arson. That's the
but if there was no other options,
there's other options. I promise. There's other options. Let's move on.
Yeah,
Before
like
we
doing
get
drugs, Chargers fans. Don't worry.
All right, Kyle, Kyle's on fire, just like the to the Charger Stadium potentially tomorrow morning. Let's go to Cardinals Texans. The CJ Stroud, a wild game by CJ Stroud, quite frankly. Yards per attempt, very good. 37 attempts, 336 yards, 2 touchdowns as well, 3 interceptions. A couple of them ugly. One was, just a tipped pass. But, the interceptions you don't love here, but still a lot of really good stuff. This is a good Tank Dell game, nearly 150 yards by him. Kyler still did some nice things. It wasn't quite as dominant as he was last week. I think we kind of saw the lack of talent around him really show in this game. But the Texans defense does enough to get the victory here.
Yeah. I mean, they really did. They made some big plays down the stretch. I mean, what did the Cardinals had 3 possessions down 5 basically that they, basically could have taken the lead. And each time the Texans defense came up strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it was 21-16 and they went turnover on downs, 2 off of interceptions too, and 1 off of missed field goals. So, or actually, sorry, 2 off of interceptions. The other one was a punt. Never mind. But yeah, I mean, that's incredibly impressive display for the defense. Good win for the Texans. This team, once again, just finding ways to win. And, even with their superstar quarterback / MVP candidate having probably the worst game of his career, managed to hold off the other team and make some plays down the stretch.
Well, it was weird too, because he definitely had some of those moments where he was terrible, but then he had those moments where he was great. He still had those great CJ Stroud moments too, Yeah.
I mean, some of those throws were still high level and still managed to do it at the very end at moments in the game. But this was his most rookie performance of his career. I feel like there was definitely some misses in this game, and I think that's what we had just become so accustomed to him kind of just being unfazed by, it seems like, everything. And this game, it definitely he looked overwhelmed at times and made some big mistakes.
Yeah, and he was great in the first half. I think that was the weird thing. The first half was fantastic. They didn't score in the second half.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, so I mean, I agree with that. And I did think he played well. One of those interceptions also wasn't his fault. It was off of a receiver's hands, and they were actually going down to score at the time too. So maybe that changes things. But I still thought that there was it was an up and down performance, and he's still going to be really good, and he still had a pretty productive day overall. And then the Cardinals, there's just not enough talent there, right? As much as I like Kyler, and I think those 3rd and 2, 4th and 2s with Kyler Murray might be my favorite play in football, because he basically just gets the ball and then runs backwards for 10 yards. And then it's almost like the Madden thing where you run in the circle and nobody can take a good angle in Madden, so you just keep going around and nobody can catch you. That's basically Kyler, where he's just going to go backwards to the point where you can't catch him and then go around you. It's the craziest thing ever. And it works almost every time.
Yeah, he had a 4th and 1 in this game where it was I was just convinced, okay, this isn't working. And he somehow found a way. No, he's incredible. And the Texans are still probably a playoff team. So, I don't know. Good win by Texans, good loss by the Cardinals.
Good loss. Keep that draft position.
Exactly. Keep the draft position. You want a bunch of 5-point losses down the stretch, right?
Yeah, exactly. If you're competitive, that keeps your coaching staff around, that keeps some of the players around, but then you get draft picks too.
Yeah, good stuff by both teams. Let's move on. Let's go to we can go to my team, why don't we? If anyone was interested in hearing my thoughts. The Buccaneers lose to the Brock Purdy-led 49ers. Brock Purdy, a perfect passer rating, 25 attempts, 333 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The most notable play, a 76-yard touchdown to Brandon Ayuk. Tampa Bay, I think, we're surprisingly competitive in this game, I would say. The final score might not look that way, but this was a 3-point game at the half. The yards per play also certainly doesn't look that way. But we're at a point where they had a real chance to come back and get into this game, down 13 points. They were inside the 15-yard line multiple times. Couldn't punch it in, though, in the fourth quarter, which eventually allowed the 49ers to pull off still a handed victory. But I don't know. I kind of think both teams come away actually feeling pretty good about this. For the 49ers, you feel like you're back. You feel like you did what you can do. But for Tampa Bay, I still think this is the game where it's like you knew you're probably going to lose this game, but you didn't embarrass yourself, which is more than you can say for a lot of these other times you play big teams.
Yeah. I agree with that because, I mean, San Francisco had 15.9 yards per completion. Like, they were really good in this game. They were really efficient on offense. I think they took their foot off the gas a little bit, it felt like, in the fourth quarter. So there were some real positives there. And, the Tampa, they went against one of the best, and they handled it pretty well. They took a few punches, and they gave a few back, and I think you could feel pretty good about that. I guess the one thing is, I think Baker's been pretty good this year, pretty solid, pretty above expectations, but you do see the turnover part to him too, where there are just times he can't take care of the ball.
Yeah, and it wasn't terrible. The interception was sort of a batted pass, fluky play. But yeah, I mean, the fumble was bad. Fumble was a bad play by him. And again, it's Fred Warner's gonna make some plays. Fred Warner made some great plays in this one. He's Fred Warner. It's what he does. I didn't love the strategy that Tampa Bay had going into this game. Felt like they were very much we're going to run the ball, run a lot of screen passes. It's one of those classic. I feel like we saw this. It's a Byron Leftwich kind of stat line of like you see 45 pass attempts and think, oh wow, they were pushing the ball down the field a lot. But if you watch the game, a lot of screen passes, a lot of stuff underneath, and a lot of running earlier. And then kind of finally once they started, taking the chains off of the offense, it looked better. Godwin didn't have a target in the first half. He ended up with 6 catches in the second half. So, those are the things that Tampa Bay is not going to pay attention to. They're not going to fix, but maybe for future years when the coaching staff isn't there, potentially some hope.
Yeah. I agree with all that. I mean, we have done so much talk, especially last season, about Tampa Bay just seemingly not running the game plan that works ever. Until the last 5 minutes of football games. Like, they don't play the football that actually is successful for them until they actually have to start winning. And we said that all last season, and it was definitely true in this case. They played pretty well once they kind of just, let the team drop back and play with some speed and some momentum. And I don't know, it's going to cost Todd Bowles his job. There's just no, you blame the offensive coordinator for it last season, and it's the same stuff without the offensive coordinator now. You can't blame anyone else at this point. This team has succeeded when they play faster, when they play with more pass first options, early passing down situations, and they don't do it till the end of games. It's just inexcusable coaching.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But interesting between these two teams. Tampa Bay schedule gets a lot easier down the stretch. Just to real quick, they play the Colts, the Panthers, the Falcons, the Packers. They play the Jaguars, but then the Saints and the Panthers again. I mean, feels like 7 games, 6 of them very winnable. Now you got to win at least, 5 of those games probably. At least 4 of them, probably 5 to get in. But it's possible.
Yeah, you still have a shot. I mean, what are you, 4-6?
Yeah,
aren't you still just a game behind New Orleans? I mean, yeah, you're still in a good position.
And we would hold a tiebreaker if we beat them. So
yeah, exactly. So I still think you're in a good position. Obviously, the big thing is winning those games. Those games are much more winnable than this one. But with Tampa, it still feels like all of them are kind of toss ups.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on. Let's go to Jets Bills. Why don't we? It's a blowout. Well, we still have a close game. We'll get to that in a second. But Jets Bills, the Bills are kind of back, or really, I mean, whenever you hear the words bench for Tim Boyle, it's not great, Kyle.
No, that's a bit of an issue. I don't know. We try to there was people trying to convince themselves that the couple of good games he played this season all of a sudden meant Zach Wilson's capable of being a backup. He just it's over for him.
Yeah.
It just is like
Hail Mary
he can go
specialist, and that's it.
he can go play in the XFL or something. I don't know. Like it's just not working for him right now. He's not processing the game, and it looked bad in this one. And I think Buffalo kind of needed a wake up call, and maybe Dane's looked obviously a lot better in this game, so that's a huge positive. Josh Allen was terrific in this game. But yeah, I mean, it was a rough game for Zach Wilson and probably the end of his NFL career.
Yeah. I don't know if you have the box score out, but let me ask you. Take a guess on how much yards did the leading wide receiver for the Jets have in this game? Leading wide receiver, not any player.
What, like 16?
Garrett Wilson had 9 receiving yards. He had the most receiving yards out of a wide receiver. Breece Hall had 50, Jeremy Ruckert 25, Tyler Conklin 18, Brandon Eccles had 18 as well, and then Garrett. I'm not sure if that counts as I guess it's wide receiver, so maybe him, but because it was a fake punt, so I don't know what you do there, but I think no, that doesn't count. Garrett Wilson had 9.
Yeah. Honestly, like half of these names on this receiver list might be made up, and you couldn't convince me otherwise. So I don't know. But the story of this game is now Tim Boyle, who is now improved to 3 touchdowns and 9 interceptions for his career.
Oh,
he is still in the Gabbert zone, hovering around 5 yards per attempt for his career. Just an incredible backup quarterback career. That this is now. The fact that this has gone on for now 5 years is just sensational. 5 years of this guy being in the NFL. Just amazing. He hasn't had more touchdowns than interceptions since like high school.
Do we even know about that?
No, I guess I could do, we can research it, but I would assume he at least was productive then.
Yeah, Tim Boyle. I mean, the thing is, it's like he's Aaron Rodgers' friend, right? And for some reason, that's good enough to get him like third string quarterback duties for the most part. It worked with the Packers.
How weird does this guy have to be Aaron Rodgers' friend? Like honestly, like this guy's probably Joe Rogan, and we don't even know.
Maybe, yeah, probably a big Joe Rogan fan, Tim Boyle, I would think.
Yeah. He's just, or maybe he's just too nice. It's just like. So what do you think happened on 9/11? And Tim Boyle's like, I don't know, Aaron. Just like keeps going.
Yeah, Tim Boyle might be like a big, like not having a lot of opinions guy. And I think maybe Aaron Rodgers likes that.
Yeah, he just keeps nodding and smiling. He's like, this guy's really got it going, man.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like, I remember, so I was a shy kid growing up. And I remember like people always thought I was smart, but I'm not. I wasn't speaking, and people thought there was something going on, but there wasn't. Is that Tim Boyle? Is he just like he doesn't talk a lot, and people are like, wow, what goes on in that guy's brain?
Well, it's clearly not shown in his football playing abilities. So I don't know.
No.
I don't know. We'd have to see. Just an incredible career. I hope he never retires. Him and Aaron Rodgers just should have a podcast after this. Honestly, I might listen to it. As much as I don't care about his opinions. I think that'd be a fantastic podcast. I'm in.
I don't know.
I need to know who this guy is.
Yeah, I would listen to Tim Boyle. I tried to listen to when Aaron Rodgers was on Joe Rogan. I couldn't make it like more than 10 minutes in. It was the most boring podcast I've ever listened to in my entire life.
Yeah. I don't think I've like listened to a lot of his interviews. I know there was that one that the McAfee one that he was like explaining like his future. I think that was basically it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, the Bills
that got off the rails.
That got off the rails, as it should. The Bills look back. Josh Allen look back. I don't know. I still think the Bills are good. I think they're a good team. I think they're a playoff caliber team, but another team with like this brutal schedule. I mean, they play the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Cowboys coming up. They almost have to go 2-1 in that stretch too to make the playoffs.
Yeah. They need, this was a good game and this was a good bounce back, but yeah, I mean, they need to rack up some wins. I mean, this team, are we under the assumption that you need 10 wins to make the playoffs basically in the AFC?
Well, I think because I look at, Pittsburgh and Cleveland, Pittsburgh has an easy schedule. I mean, Pittsburgh's next 3 games are Cincinnati, Arizona, and like New England. That those feel like they could easily be 3 wins. They play Cincinnati again and to play Indianapolis. So like it feels like them getting at least 4 wins feels very logical. And the Browns have an easier schedule as well. So like I think you need at least I do think you need at least 10.
Yeah, at least 10, right? And so yeah, I mean, like you said, at Eagles, at Kansas City for both of those two. Those are both really tough games. Home to Dallas, you know, the Chargers, maybe you win that one because they'll find a way to lose it. You know, and like even like their easiest game of the season is the Patriots, and that's the team they lost to this year.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough to make up that ground. We'll see.
Yeah, but if they keep playing like this, they can do it. And that's at least at the very least you can kind of look at this game and say, well, we are at least the Bills still.
Yeah. I mean, you still got this. You still got Josh Allen. You still got Stephon Diggs. Who wasn't really productive in this game, but you know, you still have all this stuff to feel good about for sure.
Yeah. Let's move on. 4 games left. Let's go Raiders Dolphins. It was a competitive game. Aiden O'Connell's ended up his stat line looks terrible. I didn't think he was terrible in this game. But as a whole, still not great though. I don't know how good we feel about him after this one. Did miss Adams on a couple of deep shots, and then had some turnovers, just trying to get his team back in it towards the end. Let's start with Miami because this is a weird game for Miami. They didn't punt until like 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and despite that, they still didn't get a ton of points because they kept either turning the ball over or getting field goal attempts. They weren't getting the ball into the end zone. Tyreek Hill got banged up for a stretch, came back in. Tua had 2 turnovers and 2 kind of bad turnovers in this game, I thought, but also made some plays. Miami's just a weird team, and I kind of thought about it in the sense of feels like Miami's good for like 2 boneheaded decisions a game, right? It feels like Tua's good for like 2 like bad turnovers a game, and then he's gonna be lights out like outside of that. And when he's playing, and that might be part of why when they play good teams, they sometimes blow it, but when they play bad teams, they're able to consistently win.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Like, it certainly hasn't looked the same the last few weeks, right? Like, this offense was a buzzsaw for the first 6, 7, 8 weeks of the season, and it hasn't looked quite the same. And I don't think it's just like a couple bad decisions. Like, obviously, there's some things that are happening, but like, they look the part of a contender, and like when you watch the right moments, they absolutely look unstoppable. But then it's like they win the game 20-13 in this one. And it's like, wait, what? Like I didn't feel like for a second they were actually going to lose this game. But then all of a sudden it's like the Raiders have the ball down 7 towards the end of the game with the chance to tie it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, this is the game they should have put away. They were clearly the better team. They should have put this one away, and they gave the Raiders too many opportunities at the end there. Give credit to the Raiders defense for sure. Raiders defense continues to be scrappy this year. I still don't think the Raiders are a playoff team. I still don't think they're there yet, but maybe something to build off of for the future for Las Vegas.
Yeah, there are still players to like on this team, so this was a productive game for sure. There's a few things to like. Do you give Aiden O'Connell another year after this?
No, not after that. I mean, maybe. Again, we have 7 games, or I guess 6 games left for them. So like we'll see what happens. But like, if this is what if he plays at this level for the next 6 games, then no, you move on.
Yeah, I think I agree too. I mean, maybe he stays as a backup, and this isn't like a Zach Wilson stay on a backup thing.
He belongs in the NFL.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see how that plays out. Jalen Ramsey was the best player in this game too. We'll see what happens because I think didn't he get hurt on the last play too, or on his last interception?
He did, but then he got up and he was like cheering up the crowd by jumping up and down and like trying to get the crowd pumped up. So it seems like he's okay. I don't know. I don't know if I have the energy to do that now. It feels like I would at least have the energy to do that if I was healthy.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. And yeah, I mean, he was just sensational in this game. He's still at his best. I still think he's the best corner in the league, and he completely dominated this game.
And that's huge, right? I mean, if this Dolphins defense is if it's even just like solid. Like I do think that while yes, the offense has kind of sputtered a little bit, like that, I feel like that on the other hand, like that makes the Dolphins way more interesting. Dolphins defense has played well. I mean, what they played very well. They've only given up over 21 points once in the past 6 weeks or so. It was since the Bills when they gave up 48 then, but they gave up 31 to the Eagles, but they played very well outside of that. Obviously holding Kansas City to 21. They're I don't know. Defense could be good.
Absolutely, the defense could be good, and maybe this is how they actually end up winning. If this team ends up making a run and making it to the Super Bowl, this defense looks like it can be a team that does it. So that would be the fascinating thing to me. I do think their offense does need to play a little bit better, though. Like you said, play a little bit cleaner football in this game.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, Hill kind of being out for a quarter might have affected things, but yeah, interesting between those two teams. Bengals Ravens. This was a Thursday game. It was. I mean, we can talk about Lamar looked good, had over 10 yards per attempt in this game. Ravens offense looked good. Odell, was open seemingly every play down the field in this game. He also got banged up in this one, but I mean, the Bengals are dead.
Yeah, I mean, this is the season's over kind of thing, right? Like this is the injuries suck and it stinks to see it, but yeah, I mean, this is, we said this before, like, when talking preseason, if quarterback X gets injured, there's nothing else to look forward to. Your season's done. And this is one of those quarterbacks that I think it matters. And I guess, the one thing you could say about this thing when this whole situation for them, right, is like you can't keep, because now it's, the Bengals are now in preparation for next season, right? This is now what you prepare for. You can't keep doing this to yourself and putting yourself behind 3 or 4 games in September each year. Because, maybe they're not a Super Bowl contender, but this team could have still made the playoffs if they, were prepared to start the year. Obviously, Burrow getting hurt in the preseason too didn't help that. But this is not the first year that this team has not played well to start the season in this Burrow era. So, they have to fix that this offseason and be prepared to hit the ground running in September and get off to a good start.
Yeah, and also I think this is a big deal because T. Higgins is now a free agent. I think they'll probably pay him. I would pay him if I'm Cincinnati. But okay, now you have to pay him. Now you're giving the money to him. And I guess the one silver lining is with how bad he's played this year is he won't be cost as much money. But he's still going to cost money. He's still probably going to cost $20 million. Joe Burrow, he gets a pay jump now because he's in his 5th-year option, and that's not cheap for a quarterback who made a Pro Bowl. It's like $30 million. So you're starting to get to the point now where it's like you had that great window of a great quarterback on a rookie deal, and you didn't win a Super Bowl with it. Now they still could win a Super Bowl. Cincinnati's certainly a franchise you'd love to be a fan of right now. But this was the missed opportunity.
Yeah, without a doubt, it was a missed opportunity. And, this was probably one of the most exciting years for this team. So, yeah, absolutely. It feels like a letdown. You could obviously attribute it to the injuries and the preseason injury. But, there's still too much talent in this team, I feel like, to kind of be, where they were up until this point, right? You can blame this, that, or anything else, but everybody goes through injuries, and a lot of other teams have survived. And this team struggled to this point where now they're trying to make up ground and play Jake Browning at the same time. So, yeah. It stinks. It stinks that this is what it's come to. But yeah, I think it's over and done with.
The Ravens are really good. The Ravens are a good team, and honestly, the more you look at it, the more the Ravens feel like the biggest threat to Kansas City for the getting to the Super Bowl out of the AFC, right?
Yeah. This is the best competitor, but the only thing holding the Ravens back is our history with this team, right? Like we're still waiting to see what this looks like come January timeframe, and they're just gonna have to prove it to us because that's just one of those things in sports. Like the narrative's against you, so nobody's gonna be convinced otherwise until you prove it. And so I think they're gonna have to prove it this January, but they look like the best team in the AFC right now, and I think that there's a sizable gap.
A sizable gap in the AFC. Wow, I think that's a hot take. A sizable gap between them and Kansas City.
Yeah, I think
that's through this point in the season. Actually, I think that's probably fair.
Yeah. I mean, through this point in the season, obviously things can change, but I think Kansas City's receiver issues are extreme, and I think Baltimore's better at the pass catching position. I think even without Mark Andrews for the rest of the year, which also happened in this game, also stinks. I still think Baltimore's better at the pass catching position. And I think that plays a part.
I mean, we got to talk about this. I know we're going along on this game, but the Odell thing. All of a sudden, Odell comes out and looks like the Giants' Odell. I mean, there's a play early on. The Bengals went cover 0, which we've seen give Lamar some issues in his career. Lamar, doesn't throw the football, scrambles out, throws the ball away, and they have to punt. Later on in the game, though, Bengals line up for cover 0 again, and he just flips it to Odell. Odell makes a guy miss and picks up a first down. And then later in the game, Odell, they hit on that deep shot. They had a couple other deep shots they just missed on. And it's like, this is why you go out and pay Odell. Yes, there's issues. Yes, there's injury concerns. If Odell is going to be a number one receiver, if the Ravens have a number one receiver, they are a Super Bowl contender, no doubt about
it. Yeah. I mean, if he looks like that, and Zay Flowers, like we said, has put together a pretty solid rookie season too. So, I mean, if they have all these options and I mean, it's going to really stink losing Andrews at this spot, right? Andrews is a really important player in their offense. I also don't think Isaiah Likely's that bad either. So, that's not a bad second option as far as tight ends go. I still think Andrews is really important, but Likely can be okay.
Yeah, here's if any team can lose a guy like Mark Andrews, it's Baltimore, but no team can lose a guy like Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So, I mean, there is a lot to feel. There's a lot to feel positive about this Ravens team right now. They're a legit contender, and I mean, this is probably their best shot of the Lamar era to win a Super Bowl, right? Not only is it that
the 14-2 year was the best shot.
Yeah, but also I also just feel like that like Kansas City doesn't look like its full self. And obviously a lot can still change between now and week 18. It feels like a real opportunity for them to kind of take this.
Yeah, I agree. I think the competition is weak because you're right. It's the Chiefs who won the
Cincinnati
Super Bowl
getting hurt,
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely great stuff with them. 2 games to talk about, 2 barn burners here. The games everyone's waiting to hear us talk about. First, Titans, Jaguars. Kyle, Will Levis might stink.
Hey, he only threw 4 incompletions.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely one of those ones where the stat line can be deceptive. He did make a really good throw to DeAndre Hopkins late in this game. I'm not sure how invested Jacksonville was at that point, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't ideal. I think there was some missed opportunities there. But he's still learning and getting better. I'm still willing to give it entertain the thought that Will Levis can be good, right?
Sure.
I wasn't high on him in the draft, so it could just be a self-confirming bias. I'm still not convinced he's going to be a franchise guy, but he's still shown flashes in the league that I didn't know if he was capable of or not. So at least having that, I feel like is a step in the right direction. But yeah, I mean, Jacksonville kicked ass in this game, right? And I mean, the Titans that we knew and loved or didn't love are dead. That team is gone. That team is gone and it's not coming back. What is this new era of the Titans going to look like?
I don't know. I don't know what you do if you're Titans because I don't think they're quite bad enough to get one of those top quarterbacks right now. They're not keeping Tannehill, right? I mean, they're not even starting Tannehill. Or did they get rid of Tannehill? I'm trying to remember. But either way, no, okay. But they're going. I mean, they're going to get rid of him. He's done. So, I mean, I don't know what you do. I mean, they're not a good team. They're not a good team right now.
Yeah, and I mean there are things to like. This defense I still think is better than what it showed today. There's still some really good players in this team. Like I still even think on the right day Henry can bring it. Like, but it's just it's not enough. It's not enough, and you know, I just wonder how long if they tear this whole thing down, how long is it going to take to rebuild?
A while. I mean, they're far away. I mean, they're in a complete rebuild. That's just the way you view it. Is you're in a complete rebuild. You try to get a quarterback and see how that goes. Well, let's talk about Jacksonville because Titans stink. Whatever. Jacksonville looked very good. Calvin Ridley all of a sudden looks like Calvin Ridley again. It had become a storyline of Calvin Ridley not living up to what we thought he could be. He has over 100 yards and a pair of touchdowns in this game. Trevor Lawrence continues to look very good this year. I mean, Jacksonville, they did what they had to do. They took care of business.
Yeah, this was their best game of the season by far. I felt like, and they came out here and kicked butt. The offense I felt like had not looked explosive through a lot of the season. I thought they had a really productive day. So yeah, a lot of positives I feel like to take away from Jacksonville's performance. And this is the team where I feel like if you want to take Jacksonville seriously as a team that could challenge Kansas City, challenge Baltimore at the top of this conference, these are the kind of games we need to see more consistently because this is what this team is capable of. We just don't see it every week.
Yeah, I agree. We also have a super chat from Adrian. We appreciate that. I
think he wanted to talk about Njoku.
Oh, I see.
I think he was trying to link it to his question. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Thoughts on Njoku? I didn't watch the game. I just saw he had a lot of targets. To be honest, I didn't really notice him a lot out there. I mean, I can't give a full review. I mean, again, the Browns offense was kind of sputtering throughout. So a lot of targets to him might just been trying to get it to somebody.
Well, they definitely threw the ball a lot. Yeah, I mean, he's a good player. I mean, he's a good tight end.
Yes.
That's what I got.
Yeah, no, he's a very good player. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I think the offense without Watson, I think, is going to take some work, and there's going to be a lot of games where someone has a lot of targets, and it may not all be the best throws too. So,
yeah, let's move on. Why don't we? Final game, Cowboys Panthers. It actually was a close game for a bit. Like the Panthers made it a 1-score game. It was a 1-score game in the fourth quarter. But then Deron Bland, who just can't stop getting pick sixes, 4 pick sixes on the year. Deron Bland, who it's incredible. Dak Prescott ends up with 189 yards on 38 attempts, but 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The Cowboys blow out the Bryce Young-led Panthers. Kyle, your thoughts on this game?
This game wasn't very fun.
No.
That's my initial thought.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The Deron Bland thing just cracks me up because this guy is a professional at getting balls thrown right to him at this point. Like, and every one of his interceptions look the exact same. It's that short, quick out that's thrown late, and he just steps in front of the route. Every one of his interceptions are the exact same, it feels like. You just stop running those quick outs against Deron Bland because if you're a second too late, he's going to jump the route.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane that happened again, and it was thrown right to him. And as soon as Bryce Young let the ball go, it's like, oh no, it's one of those throws. And weird game overall. I thought the Cowboys looked uninspiring, but at the same time, they dropped 33. So I guess whatever, man.
What the hell happened with Dallas? How are they playing every week? It's like, oh, now they're playing the I don't know, the Orlando Apollos this week. The Dallas is, they're going to play the Orlando Apollos. Can they pull out? It's like every week it's some like terrible. How did they get the schedule? What happened?
Benefits to the 2 seed, man. That's what happened.
I guess so. Yeah, it's a good move.
They should do it more often. Don't win the division.
Yeah, I think so. Because then you get a good schedule the following season where you can then have a better chance of winning the division, which you don't want to do because then you would get the tougher schedule.
Yeah. Just like start throwing some games here and there. That's what happened in the San Francisco game. They were actually throwing it so that they can get the 2 seed in their division. That's what
I
they
think
wanted
so.
this whole time.
Yeah, smart stuff by the Dallas. That's why they lost to the Arizona Cardinals as well. I don't know, whatever. Two weird teams. Panthers. I don't know. Maybe you'd feel better with CJ Stroud right now. Adam Thielen's good. Adam Thielen loves catching big passes. What they went for it on fourth down 3 times on their touchdown drive.
Man,
I
that
think
drive
Adam
was
Thielen.
insane. They
Yeah,
ran like 37,000 plays on that one drive. It felt like they had the ball for 10 minutes on that drive, and they still have only scored 10 points in this game. Like
yeah.
it felt like the entire quarter was taken up by one drive. It was just weird. Like what a weird game. That's probably why the score was so close late too.
Yeah, very bizarre game between these two teams. But hey, give credit to Dallas. No one takes care of business against bad teams like they do, so you got to give them credit there. They're 7-3, still fighting for the potential 1 seed. Still possible. Kyle, let them know where we can find us on Twitter before we head out.
Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitter. That is at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to follow me at by Kyle Gronin. And make sure to follow the account page at On the Sideline JK. That is at On the Sideline JK.
Of course, if you like audio only podcast, anywhere you get your podcast, search On the Sideline Podcast. It should be available. Kyle, what next week? We got the Thanksgiving games. A lot of interesting stuff coming up.
Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff coming up indeed. You got any Thanksgiving plans?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go drive up to see my family. You know, I live in Orlando, they're in Tampa, so 2-hour drive there.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So I got my turkey in the fridge now because I think it takes like 4 days to defrost. So
Okay.
So I got that ready, and should be a fun Thursday. Looking forward to it.
I think we had a battle last year about. I think you said like Thanksgiving was like your favorite holiday or something, and I fought back harshly.
It's an elite holiday. I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
Doing Cajun turkey this year. This should be good.
Okay, interesting. I might show up.
Yeah, feel free to come by. I'm gonna have leftovers.
Okay, yeah.
I invited your brother, so we'll see.
Okay, yeah, cool. I'll let him know. I'll ask him how that went. We can talk about Thanksgiving. Are you good to do the show same time on Wednesday?
Yeah, why not? I'm fine.
Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, perfect. So we'll be still normal time, day before Thanksgiving. Also, there's a Black Friday game. Stop it. I don't need a Black Friday game.
Who's even playing Black Friday? I didn't even know.
Miami versus the Jets. A great one. You can't.
So
it's at 3. Like, what are we doing?
Wasting our time on Black Friday for the Jets. Like, that's insulting. We're gonna watch Tim freaking Boyle on Black Friday. Like, he is literally the Walmart Black Friday sale of quarterbacks. So I guess this makes sense. Like, why is he playing Friday night for us? This is absurd. Get this out of here.
I feel like online shopping has kind of ruined Black Friday.
Yeah, and Tim Boyle has ruined watching the quarterback. So, I mean, it makes sense. Like, unbelievable that we have to watch this.
Unbelievable indeed. Again, you don't have to watch it. This is a hobby we all share.
I have to talk about it, right? I mean, I think, what have we invoked? 2 games that we said we weren't watching and just skipped on our show. But we can't skip the Dolphins. Like, I have to devote a little bit of time to it.
You can watch it the day after for, watch the, I don't know if you have, I don't know how you will watch the games, but there's ways to, just quickly watch the game after.
I'll get that 15-minute highlight segment. That's what I need. And it'll just be like Tim Boyle getting sacked like 4 times. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, Kyle, I can tell you right now, you don't need to watch the game. We know what's going to happen. I promise you, we know what's going to happen.
Yeah. The Dolphins are going to win like 17-10 for some reason.
Yeah, I could. I don't know. Wild stuff coming up. Exciting stuff. Patriots Giants. That's the game of the week. They should flex that to Sunday night.
They should flex that to Black Friday, so none of us have to actually watch it. I mean, insanity. If we're gonna have a crappy game on Black Friday, at least make it the crappiest game possible.
Yeah, and Thanksgiving. I'll be honest, I'm not crazy about the Thanksgiving slate either. Packers, Lions. Lions should win that one by a lot. Commanders, Cowboys. The Cowboys should win that one by a lot. Niners, Seahawks is good. That's the good third, the night game. But I don't know. Not crazy about it.
Shoot. Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, depending on what Sam Howell shows up, like Washington, Dallas could be interesting.
I think we know which Sam Howell is going to show up. I have a pretty good feeling about which Sam Howell is going to show up in that one.
He's going to look electric for like 50 minutes and then throw one right to Deron Bland for a pick six. And that's how the game will end. That's what's going to happen.
I could see it. Also, Bears Vikings Monday Night Football. Perfect. Great work there.
Vikings are on fire, man. All these national TV games, like just give them more.
Oh, I even talk about I think the Patriots have like 3 straight primetime games after they play the Giants. Yeah, or it's a week later, but after they played the Giants, then they played the Chargers, and then primetime against the Steelers, primetime against the Chiefs, primetime against the Broncos.
I'm gonna watch Caleb Williams highlights.
I think that might be a good strategy. All right, Kyle. Any final thoughts? You're ready to get out of here.
No, it's time to go to bed. Everybody go to bed.
Did I miss Jags Titans? Yes, you missed a lot, Corey. Sorry.
You missed the whole show. Sorry, man.
Yeah. Hey, just go back and watch it. It's still live on the channel. You're good. Live to you. Let's get out of here. Again, thank you to everybody who stayed up to 1:30 here on the East Coast. We appreciate you. Or if you're, I don't know, if you're in Germany or something watching this at noon, whatever time zone you're in, we appreciate you. And of course, as always, have a good one.
Peace.
I forgot for a second, but we're back.
All right. Time to go.